Cyberpunk 2077, coming out when it's ready. Well, it came out. Is it ready? Let's take a look. Okay, look, I'm sure you've all seen the bugs and the glitches and the crashes and the poor state this game is currently in, but does that make it a bad game? Well, there are a lot of things to look at when it comes to reviewing this game, but I understand that a lot of people already give this game a low score. I fully understand that. Not everyone has an insane gaming PC with the highest specs to run this game properly. Most people still play on lower tier specs or still playing on the PS4 and Xbox One. I myself am lucky enough to play this game on the PS5. That's the footage you see in the background. All of the background footage you currently see is recorded on the PS5. And it actually runs pretty well on there, pretty solid 60 FPS, but more on that later. This video is a quick review slash first impression type video, and at the end of the video I'm gonna give you my honest advice when it comes to purchasing this game or not. And a quick note here, usually I'm not really that into RPGs, so this might serve as a unique perspective from a different type of gamer that, for example, the Witcher series is aimed at. You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. First of all, I want to start off with some highlights. Things that I greatly appreciate from this game, which there are many of. Some things obviously could be done much better though, of course, but we'll get to that. Let's start off with some great things. This setting. The year is 2077. I know, who would have thought? And the main stage of the game is Night City, baby. This city, this map, this world in this game is instantly in my top 5 maps or worlds in any video game ever. The density, the detail, it's really incredible. There is not one single corner of this city where the developers have overlooked some things in terms of audio or visual design, you know what I mean? The atmosphere, the ambiance, the little alleyways that seem to be empty and meaningless at first, but when entering, you can find hidden stash and loot and stuff like that. So far, I've spent most of my time just looking around Night City, pretty much just sightseeing, trying to get to certain areas and whatnot, and I often didn't even want to get to the next point by car. I just went walking because the city is so dense. You couldn't walk, 1 meter without something that catches your interest. And the fact that you can also climb on ledges in this game is just something I didn't think would be present at all, so that was a very welcome surprise. Matter of fact, that's how I found my very first loot item in this game. A bulletproof vest on top of this little hut near the radio tower in the wasteland outside of Night City. Now, not everything here is perfect, obviously. While the atmosphere is incredible because of the design and audio, it also falls a bit short when it comes to the NPCs. First of all, the NPC population is not as dense as we saw in gameplay trailers a while ago, and that might change with the official next-gen upgrade, but at the moment that's not the case. Also, the NPCs themselves don't really add anything other than, decoration purposes. Yes, they add a little bit of flair, with different animations depending on where you are. For example, some crackheads could be in a dirty alleyway doing who knows what, but as soon as you try to interact with them, they don't really have anything meaningful to say.
Kiss my dead spunk!
Not really that immersion breaking, I have a pretty high tolerance for this stuff, but still, it is mention worthy. Let's quickly talk about the backstories. Right from the start, I immediately knew I was gonna pick Nomad. It really suits my kind of preference in a way, you're pretty much a lone wolf, no longer with your clan, and you start off in the wasteland outside of Night City. This was actually the biggest reason why I picked Nomad. I like to kind of work my way up to things, starting off in the desert area and then eventually making my way to Night City. So the first minutes of this game were incredible to me. First of all, I was surprised that I was playing this game on 60 FPS after all the footage I've seen from the console versions. But besides that, my first free roam moment was in this desert, by myself, connecting to this radio tower. This is me, this is what I like. So I was pretty disappointed that this would only last for a couple of minutes. Your first job, the introduction, is literally getting into Night City, becoming friends with Jackie, and that's it. That's the unique background mission. Very short. I also took a look at Street Kid and Corpo background stories. They are also very short. Pretty disappointed with that. I understand that eventually all 3 background stories need to become one into the main story, you know what I mean? But I expected a bit more, to be honest. So after that, in my opinion, the introduction is too fast. Like I said before, I was hoping to kind of climb the ranks a bit before indulging myself into the heart and soul of the content of the game, A good example of a game that does this perfectly is Grand Theft Auto 4. In GTA 4, you start off as a nobody, you're fresh off the boat, and you stay as a nobody for a pretty long time. You get introduced to many mechanics of the game pretty gradually. In Cyberpunk 2077, after the introduction, you literally get a cutscene that showcases your progress through Night City. It looks very cool, and I understand that it doesn't want to waste any time, and a lot of people probably like that, but I would have liked to play this. You know, what is in this cutscene, this climbing the ranks thing. Just a little personal critique of mine. So now that you are introduced to Night City a bit, you know, you are friends with Jackie, you've supposedly done jobs here and there, even though it was just in the cutscene. How is the core of the game, you know, the meat and potatoes of this game? Is that how it goes? Meat and potatoes? Well, whatever. In my opinion, it's good. It's very good. The first couple of missions have great design, heart-pumping setting and music.
You'll pay twice, because I say you'll pay twice.
They tell you more about the lore of this Cyberpunk universe. Technically, you can just play the main missions and have a great time, but the side missions are amazing as well. Although again, the introduction is a little bit too fast for me. I don't know if it's because I'm getting old and I like my hand to be held a little bit more than usual, but you have times where you have like 6 side quests popping up all at the same time. So you're like, what the hell is going on? I have these side quests popping on which I can track, then I get a phone call with another job, then I get a text with another job, you know, all at the same time before you get properly introduced to everything, at least in my opinion. Some smaller things that I really appreciate about this game is the attention to detail, but not only in the world itself, also in the UI and the menu and stuff like that. It just looks great, it really fits the theme, and you know, the menu is fast and responsive. I really appreciate that. Not every game has that, unfortunately, but Cyberpunk 2077 does. Outside of the bugs and glitches and stuff like that, this game does need to have some quality of life improvements in my opinion. For example, this slider here is supposed to let you adjust the sensitivity when aiming down side, or at least when zooming in. I think that's the same, but it almost doesn't do anything at all. I do like the fact that you can fine-tune the controls here, but again, it's just not enough, it's not there, it's not nailing it. Aiming is pretty bad in Cyberpunk, which is a shame because if this game had good gunplay, it would be so much better. Unfortunately, it feels pretty clunky, and a part of me understands that, you know, CD Projekt Red is not really a first-person shooter studio, and neither are they all familiar with driving physics. The driving in this game is okay, but just not quite there. Like the bike, for example, handles like complete shit. I don't know why it's so hard to just do what GTA does when it comes to driving in an open world game. I know they probably use a very different engine, but still. Also stealth, it's okay. I like the hacking and stuff, but again, it doesn't really nail it. That's pretty much the game in a nutshell. It has so many things. It's insanely packed with content. You have loot, which you can upgrade or craft new items with different parts for different weapons and attachments. Also body and weapon modifications, clothing modifications, cyberware, open world stuff, skill trees, multiple dialogue options, which some people actually claim to be meaningless, but I don't really agree. For example, the first real mission, which you've probably already seen, is basically a deal gone wrong, but it depends on what you choose as the dialogue options. You can choose to go to a crooked officer first and get 10,000 eddies, which is Eurodollars, the currency of Cyberpunk 2077, and then you can simply buy it off them without much of a problem. If you choose this option, you still get to fight enemies, but this time you fight alongside the Maelstrom, I think that's how you pronounce the name. So yeah, you have a lot of things in this game, the list goes on and on. So when I try to envision the game that Cyberpunk 2077 is trying to be, I can't help but being in awe, you know, kinda like Star Citizen in a way. The vision is so insane, and when the game works, when it all clicks together, when it does what it's trying to do, it is an amazing experience. But then you look at these smaller things like no barber, no tattoo shop of some sort, you know, things like that were present in GTA San Andreas and not in Cyberpunk, which has a whole world built around changing appearances and stuff like that. I don't know, it seems weird to me. I have many of these kinds of complaints, but I think you get the point. Smaller things, but noticeable things. At the moment, you have to really try when playing the game and envision what the studio had in mind. Which is easier said than done with constant crashes and glitches and whatnot, but when you see it before you and it works, you'll have an amazing time. It's been a long time since I've actually played a game where I couldn't wait to wake up again the next day and play. And even though with all the performance issues, I still have a great time playing it, honestly. Characters are cool and interesting, the voice acting is pretty good. You know, it's not the same kind of quality that you expect from studios like Naughty Dog or Rockstar. For example, The Last of Us Part 2 and Red Dead Redemption 2 are untouchable when it comes to voice acting and animations and overall quality. And I think that's the problem. I think most people kinda expected that with Cyberpunk 2077. It was a given that we wouldn't get that level of polish and quality from this game, and now it also has all these issues, so I understand the disappointment that people have. But then again, I can't help but kinda trying to defend CD Projekt Red a little bit. I've seen people compare this game to Anthem and the Avengers game, which is just an insult to be honest. CD Projekt Red is not like these other game companies that create a monetization model first and then a game around that, like Anthem and the Avengers. No, they try to create an amazing game and hope that it being good enough will result in great sales. You know, like the video game industry used to be in the past. The only thing that is holding this game back is the performance, which is obviously a big deal, don't get me wrong, but it's not like this evil corporation that tries to sell an early access game and then leech off microtransactions and stuff like that. Should they have delayed this game again to keep working on it in order for it to be as perfect as possible? Yes, of course. However, people hated them for delaying the game several times, and people are now hating on them for releasing it too early as well, so it's a difficult one. However, like I said before, it's always easy to say stuff like this in hindsight, but the game is out now and it is in its current state. Therefore, I have to give feedback on how the game plays today. So the question remains, should you buy this game? In my opinion, right now, if you really care about having a great experience from the get-go, I'd say wait a little bit on the fixes and optimization updates, and preferably I'd hold off on this game until you can get a next gen console and play the next gen version of this game, because right now on the PS5 I'm running the PS4 version backwards compatible, and yes, it is a solid 60 FPS most of the time, but you can still see that this is the PS4 version. You know, less population, blurry resolution, lighting is pretty meh in most places, and of course the bugs and glitches. But I think that the next gen version is gonna be great, so my advice is to hold off on buying it, or if you already bought it, you know, just put it to the side, perhaps play some other games for a couple of months, and then hopefully in the near future you can play this game again on the next gen consoles with the next gen versions, because I have no doubt that that experience will be amazing. Because right now I'm playing it and I'm having a great time. That's all I can say at this point, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you consider my advice as well, because as far as I can see and heard from friends, the game is just pretty much unplayable on the base PS4 and Xbox One, which is a shame because the game itself is pretty awesome. Anyway, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, join the Discord, link is down below. And with that being said, I see you guys next time.